We're going to be talking about the new rule that's come into place in relation to naturalization and good character. What's effectively happened is that from the 10th of February 2025, anyone who makes an application who entered the UK illegally at whatever time within their journey, they will be refused. Now, the Home Office say that will normally be refused, but we understand from our knowledge of the Home Office that there are very defined categories under which they'll accept it. So, normally be refused will usually be refused unless you come under one of those categories, which is rare. But what a lot of people are not understanding about this is that it applies retrospectively to some extent. So I'll break this down for you. For those who've made their application before the 10th of February and have not received a decision, and for those who are going to make their application now or any point after the 10th of February. And then we'll be talking about some defenses, and to some extent we'll be touching upon what they mean when they say will normally be refused and what the opposite of that is to some extent. For those people who are making their application from the 10th onward, you will most likely be refused if you entered the UK illegally at any time. For those of you who've already made your applications and are waiting for a decision, you are in a very, very peculiar position, because what's going to happen with you is if you have illegally entered the UK within the last 10 years, your application will normally be refused. If, on the other hand, you entered the UK illegally more than 10 years ago, the Home Office are going to look to see whether they are disregarding any of your other immigration breaches. We're talking about overstaying, and we're also talking about absconding, for instance. If they are disregarding more or one of those, then the Home Office will normally refuse your application. Now, a lot of people are relying on the fact that the Home Office are going to be disregarding a previous overstaying period. Now, that has to some extent become a double-edged sword, because if the Home Office do disregard that particular period, on the opposite end of that, they will refuse this application based on the fact that you are an illegal entrant, even if it's more than 10 years ago. And talking about disregarding, the Home Office will not be disregarding illegal entering. So they might be disregarding other immigration offences, which has an impact on you entering illegally, but that illegal entering will not be disregarded at all under any circumstances. Now let's talk about the defences. We've got the most common, where somebody has entered the UK as somebody who has been trafficked. We've also now got refugees, because this is where it is the most applicable. A refugee enters the UK illegally. If they apply for asylum straight away, and if they make it known as soon as reasonably practicable that they are here to seek protection, and they have no other breaches in the last 10 years, then their application can be successful. Alternatively, if the Home Office again have to disregard other breaches, then their application will normally be refused. Now comes a very stern word from me, but of course it comes from a place of love, and of course we are progressive people and we learn our lessons, which is why this should be a really big lesson for you. This should be a lesson that the Home Office can, just like that, make a policy that will affect not only you who has not made an application, but you who has made an application and the application is pending. As I always say, you are not secure until and unless you have made an application for citizenship and that has been accepted. So those of you who are sitting on your applications, this should be an eye-opener. Make your applications quickly. Get secured, get your citizenship. And those of you who are waiting to make your application, i.e. you've given an application in to your lawyer, contact your lawyer and find out if you are still eligible, because this changes a lot of things. I certainly will be contacting all of my clients who are sitting on their applications to make sure that they are still eligible. Things have changed quite drastically with this, and just like that, we've learned a lesson that things can change quite drastically. So I would implore you to go out there, do your application. Do not sit on your application just because you've got indefinite leave to remain. I see it. I see people becoming complacent after they've got indefinite leave to remain, although the name indefinite would suggest that they're here permanently. It is not as strong a status as its name leads you to believe. So make your applications, make them quickly, secure yourself, and of course feel free to get in contact with me.